Great. So last we'll continue our study of converting various types of advantages. We looked at different, I think we are in the last section in the thing, and then we are going to go to the tactics. At the end of September, we are going to go to study of various tactics. Right now we are going to the last section, which is utilizing material or positional advantage. We have covered the first two chapters. Now we are in advantage in space. Okay, so that is what. So look at this position first, okay, and don't look at the solution or whatever, and look at what should be the strategy for white. White has got a very advanced a pawn, but knowing that the rook is blocking it, and whichever way, I don't think the rook pawn will not queen, but you will be able to transfer the advantage somewhere else, and you should be able to then win. So look at it, and what kind of a strategy comes to your mind?
Pawn f3, sir.
Pawn f3. Okay.
Pawn f4.
Yeah,
Check.
pawn f4 check is more forceful, right?
And then after the king moves, you just move your rook on keeping it on the a file.
On the a file, that's correct. So
Then, yeah.
f4 is a very good tactical idea you have got, which otherwise would not have been possible because your rook is on the a4 square, so it is covering the fourth rank. So which is a beautiful tactical step you get, which is f4, and actually f4 immediately wins, because the idea is after f4 what happens is, where will the black king go? To save the h pawn, he has to go to h5, right? f4 he cannot take the pawn, he has to go to king to h5, otherwise the h pawn will fall. And when you go to h5, now you can play rook to a5, right? White can play rook to a5, attacking the f pawn. Now how can you defend it? Both the h pawn as well as the f pawn, right? There is no, you don't have got the g5 square that is taken out by the pawn. So you will end up doing something, let us say king to g6. Okay, and if you do king to g6, then you lose the h5 pawn. And if you do something, what do you call? If you retain the king on the h5, then you are certainly losing the f pawn, right? Even if you cannot get the rook to defend the f pawn, because the other pawn will queen there. So basically the game is lost after this. So I think so. Just analyzing it logically, you will be able to make this one, that here the f4 simply wins. I mean, it is surprising, but it is immediately actually wins, and there is no defense possible for black after this, right? Just look at it. There is absolutely no way black can do anything meaningful. And if you want to see what is the end game after that, after it loses a pawn, then white will maneuver the rook and make sure that he is able to exchange the rook even after giving the a pawn. But that will result in he having a space advantage, which he will convert on the king side. Right? Do you want to see this? Do you want me to put this on the board? Let me put it quickly. Clear. Black has got a pawn here and here. White has got a pawn here. White has got a king here. Rook on a4. Black king on g5, and white pawn on a7, and black rook, and it is white to play, right? So analysis, this is the board. So what happens is, see, check. What will you do? Where do you want to play the king? Anyone wants to play this end game or play from white? Sorry,
h5.
King h5, correct. Now rook goes to a5.
King g6.
King g6. Now white king takes this pawn. Still the endgame has to be won, so it is not that it is there, but it is a, this should be easy to win, but let us see how easy it is or how difficult it is.
Rook to h8 check.
Yeah, rook to h8 check will at least put the white king behind, right? Kind of. Okay, but after this white king has to go, sorry, black rook better go back to a8, right? Otherwise the pawn will queen.
If you play this against the computer, then it would probably be a draw.
I don't think so. We'll try it, we'll see. Anyway, now what is the thing? You have to go to a8, right? There is nothing else you can do. Right? Otherwise the pawn is queening. Now what should be white strategy? The strategy is simple. Rook to a6.
You are also bringing the king closer.
Yeah, slowly bring the king closer. In fact, you can bring it along this line also. Let us see. Try to give maximum resistance. So where will black king go to?
King f7.
King f7. Now white has got a white is actually now winning very easily after this. Right? Because now what will you do? What can you do? So now white king is coming to g5 and then picking up the f5 pawn. So maybe I think maybe not this. Maybe you might want to play king to h5. Huh? But king to h5, now what happens is rook goes to, wait, I can win the f pawn, but by giving up the a pawn. Should I do that?
But then it's a draw.
Yeah, it looks closer to a draw. So better I will not give it that way. Now let me try to bring my king from this side.
So then black can take white's pawn and then try
Let
to
us see. Let us see. Play from the black side.
king to h4.
King to h4. Yeah, logical makes sense, right?
No,
No, it is a checkmate. It's a checkmate.
checkmate.
Actually, it is a loss by Zugzwang. So you are right. So white is winning outright because this is Zugzwang. Pawn is blocked. King cannot move backwards. King cannot move sideways. King can only move front, which leads to checkmate. And if the rook moves, then the pawn queens. Right? So at this point of time, so king to h5 does not work. Then you have to play something like maybe king to g7 is better. King to g7. But then I play king to h5. And now I am able to come to g5 and pick up the pawn. And with two pawns, then it is very easily win. Right? Cool. So I think we'll go to the next position. So this is a clear win. Easy. Okay, let us go to the next position. But yeah, look at this position. Don't read this one, but look at this and just try to think what should be white to play. Look at the pawn position and form your views. What should we? First of all, what is the situation? And then what can be the plan for white?
White should play bishop g5 to not allow the king to get to f6.
Yeah, but bishop to g5 is a good move, but not to prevent king f6. King f6 anyway, what can the king do? Even if you maintain the bishop on the c1 e3 diagonal, right, going up to, black king will not be able to come up further, right?
So f4 and then after e takes f4, then bishop
No.
takes.
No. it is actually bishop g5 is a good move, but not so much to prevent the king, but to prevent the knight from becoming active. Look at the black's knight. It is in a very bad position, right? It is stuck in its own side, and where it can go out, it has really, look at it. From where can it come out? Can it ever come and starts attacking white's pawns? There are only two positions. It can come to knight to b6, but if white kind of fight has to prevent the knight from coming further up. From b6 again, it has to, c4 pawn is defended by the king, a4 square is defended by the king. But at least if the knight comes to b6, then it can threaten and it can immobilize the white king. So that's why white wants to play to king a4 first. And if knight comes to b6, then white king wants to go to b5 and then attack the knight, and it cannot penetrate white side. So it has to go back, right? So that is what is white's plan. White wants to play king a4 before black plays knight b6, and then he has got a tremendous advantage. Then he's going to encroach into from the queen side and doing it. Okay. But there is a chance if white simply plays king a4, then knight can come to e7. Okay. From e7, it can go to g8 and then attack the black pawn, or it can, and from g8, it can come to f6, and then from f6, it can go to then h5 and then be free. And if the knight ever lands on f4, right, then black has got pretty much a draw almost. Okay, if the knight lands safely on f4. So given all of this thing, what white plays is white plays bishop to g5, so that knight, if it all comes to e7, he will exchange it. Okay, and it is a win for white. See, if knight comes to e7, white will be very happy to exchange the bishop with the knight, and white king is coming from a4 to b5 to c6, c7, etc. He's coming, and he's going to have the advantage. So black does play knight to b6, and now white attacks it from behind. So now, no matter what happens, now white king is going to penetrate from the queen side. So knight goes back. Now white comes to a4. Now black king attacks the white bishop, but bishop simply drops back. Black king is trying to prevent white king from coming in. Okay. So he wants to block all of these things, but white still can enter. White can still enter. Now, at this point of time, white is definitely going to be, what is the thing? First of all, black is in a zugzwang again. Black cannot really, if black plays the king somewhere, then there it will be even more zugzwang. Black king going to b8 is bad, because white bishop will go on d8 and force the king to go further away, right? So and then black king will, black bishop will go to c7 and start cleaning up the pawns. So that.
What about knight b6?
Knight b6, yeah, knight b6 is what black plays, and now white is very happy to exchange. Check, forcing the black king to really take it, right? It's over now. The black king takes the bishop, white takes the b6 knight, and then white has got a thing, what do you call? White has got a winning endgame. White has already penetrated black side. He will force black king to move away, pick up the d6 pawn, and then the d pawn itself will queen. Can you visualize this, or we want to try out? We can try out. We can try out. So pawns on these. Okay, I will try to put this after the exchange. Clear board. Black king will be here after the exchange, and white king will be here, and it will be black to play, because white has given check. king is taken the bishop, white has taken the knight, and now it is black's turn to play. So let's make it black to play and analyze it. And okay, so black to play. Let us try to see whether black can defend it. Can you play for a black side?
King e7.
King e7, then white king to c7.
But then if king c8, then white king goes to
C6.
c6.
Correct.
But
Exactly.
king to e8?
Oh,
Now you are saying
king to-
or up here?
No, earlier.
Okay. So
what
now,
about king to d7?
yeah, king to d7 and king to b7.
Oh.
Taking the opposition.
King to e7.
King to e7, king to c7.
Okay, and now it's finished.
If
Now it
king
is
to e8, then black could then come to e7.
When, earlier or now?
Now,
Okay, king to e8. No, but the black's all pawns are gone, right?
no, after before this.
Now itself you are saying
Yeah, even now.
king e8, king to c6,
Now, king e7.
king e7, king c7.
Yes, yes. Okay.
Yeah. So this is a completely lost endgame, but you have to get into. You have to exchange the bishop and the knight, and then it's a lost endgame. So that is what white planned, and because he has got a clear space advantage. See, white has got. See, key thing is that white has got an h6 advanced pawn and a d5 pawn advanced protected. So white is very clearly is better. I mean, black cannot really hope to. Black cannot really hope to say, oh, I will go to f6, I will go to g5, I will pick up this pawn, and then I will put prone my pawn. Before even he picks up the h6 pawn, everything else will get finished here. So, right, and that is what is the meaning of space advantage in pawn end games. Yeah, you were saying something.
Instead of king e7,
Okay.
couldn't black have played king d8?
Okay, this was the position black to play.
Yeah, no. After this,
After what?
after king e8 and king c6,
King e8 and king c6.
king d8.
King d8, king d6.
Oh,
Now other two pawns are also falling. Right?
yeah.
So it is all finished basically. See, in one thing to remember, in pawn end games, space advantage is extremely important. Whosoever pawns are advanced beyond the halfway mark and they are protected, he has got a very high advantage, because unless the other side can completely block your king, right, then only you can draw. Otherwise, if the other side can if you can penetrate into the other side and you have a protected pawns which are going into the opponent's half, right, most likely you have the advantage and very likely that you will be able to win it. Remember that. Okay, let us go back. Let us take a third position. Again, it's a drastic case of space advantage. White to play.
Queen h5 with the idea bishop takes h6.
Yes, that is the most logical idea, right? Because the h6 pawn is very weak and it is ripe for sacrifice. So white should threaten it. Only thing is that it is not that immediately you cannot do it in 1 or 2 moves, but you can play for it. And black has to accurately respond. Okay, otherwise it gets finished. So in this position, even later on it does get finished, but at least for a few moves black has to defend accurately, and you cannot take the h6 pawn. But white starts with queen h5 threatening bishop h6, and now knight goes to b6. Okay, what is the idea of knight to b6?
So after the bishop sacrifice, then black can move the bishop back after
Yes, you are
queen
right. He is
takes.
trying to get the queen on the 7th rank to defend along the 7th rank, prevent queen h7, checkmate, etc. Right? For that, he wants the black's queen to be defending along the 7th rank. So he wants to clear the 7th rank of the pieces. That is the only thing. Otherwise, knight going to b6 on the queen side, there is nothing else. It is just clearing the 7th rank. And it is right at this point of time, taking h6 is not okay because the sacrifice is premature. Because bishop takes h6, g takes h6, you think you are threatening checkmate, but black bishop simply falls back to d8, right? And it is not an easy thing for you because after that, black queen is coming to g7, right? So it will force the exchange of the queens after that. So that is why white is also not really, white knows that there is no breakthrough for black anywhere else. So white prepares for more things. He wants to get more firepower. Knight e3, because now the knight is coming to g4, further coming on, bearing on h6. Okay, so black also knows that he has to further defend, so he brings up the rook also. Okay, so now knight to g5, sorry, g4, and now the bishop drops back so that it is all well defended. But white continues to bring more and more firepower. So white is going to win this nonetheless, because beyond a point, black cannot really do anything. See, it would have been good if black could counter blow in the center and start creating some other counter chances, but that is not possible here. So that is not possible.
Sir, what about d5?
d5. So d5, if you do, then rook to h3 or rook to g3.
So in the third move,
Yeah.
instead of bishop to d8, black could also play rook to d8, right? Because later on the bishop could drop back to f8, and then even the rook could come up.
Yeah, that is also another plan you could have thought. Okay, so only thing is that
Doesn't rook d8 just lead to knight takes h6? You can sacrifice and
yeah, you can sacrifice upfront and you can do that, and that is why actually black goes back, because he wants to bolster the g7 square at least. So that allows rook to d8 does not bolster it, and yeah, I agree. I think if rook to d8, then probably now the sacrifice should work on h6.
Okay.
I'm still evaluating whether you should first sacrifice bishop h6, gh6, knight h6, or knight h6, gh6, and bishop h6. That is still a, what I call, still something to be thought of. Because knight, if it is on h6, it will land up on f7 and it can block the entire row, right, with the help of the pawn, and then start threatening queen to h8. That is what I would go for. So I would probably go sacrifice the bishop first, and then get my knight on h6, then get it on to f7, and I think that will be deadly after that, knight if it lands on f7. So anyway, in this game, this is a game from Chigorin versus someone in 1880. Kai Clements. Okay. So white simply continued to dominate this by this and rook to g3, and I think black resigned. I'm sure there is a tactical, now the sacrifice will work, I think now, and that is why he resigned. So Now knight h6 probably should work. Huh? Yeah, because now knight h6 check, gh6, bishop h6, the rook will remain there, and now with bishop on h6, pawn is coming to g7 also now, and there is a white rook also in g3. So slowly, I mean, it is not immediately, but that is what is going to happen. So all right. So I think again this was showing a very clear positional space advantage. Let us go to the next position. Next position is a very famous game called as the Immortal Game of Zugzwang. This was played in Nemzovich was playing black, and this is called as Immortal Zugzwang because in this game what happened is, probably this is the first instance of a master game or world top game where in the middle game there was a Zugzwang. Normally you will get this Zugzwang in end games only, but here there are two rooks, two bishops, and a knight, etc. And in fact, white has sacrificed a piece to get his positional advantage, space advantage. And now you find that I think at this point of time, Samish was also top grandmaster. The Samish attack in King's Indian is named after him. So he was playing Nimzovich, and at this point of time, just look at it. White is completely paralyzed. White does not really have a move apart from some pawn moves which are also going to end. So it is over really. And why does white resign is that any move that he makes after he has run out of moves will result in him losing something or the other. So that is the reason. It's a full game. I think probably we should spend half an hour on this game separately, or you can find the game. I'm sure you will find it in YouTube. Immortal Zugzwang game. Yeah, I think Agad Mathur himself has annotated a game 3 years back, so we can watch this, right? There are also now some modern Zugzwang games are there. AlphaZero has got one, Carlson has got one, which has been, but yeah, I mean, this is also this is by whom? I think this is which channel is this one? The Best of Chess channel. Okay, so this has also got a 23-minute. It's a detailed analysis, right? So
That's Sam Copeland's channel.
Huh? Sam Rosa. Oh,
Sam Copeland, National Master.
okay. Is it good? The Best of Chess channel? I have not subscribed to it.
I've never heard of it, but I just see his profile image and that's him.
Okay, fine. So it is worth looking at it. So you can look at this game separately. Okay, but it's not immediate Zugzwang, but only pawn moves are available for white, and black also has got some reserve pawn moves. So after that, and black has got many moves that he can still make it. Okay, his queen is black's queen has got a lot of moves that are possible. So white, the strategy is that he's just running out of making white run out of good moves, finished, and finally when white will be in Zugzwang, and then he will start losing a piece or more.
Sir, can't white just switch between h1 and h2, the king?
King switching between h1 and h2. It's a good idea. I think I will do this better preparation because I will analyze this game before. And right now, only thing is that if you do that, and queen can go to c7, and then again you will run out of this one. What will you do if I go to queen to c7? Your pawn is under attack. right? And it requires, there are double attack. So king will be stuck on h2 after that. King cannot go back to h1 because the pawn will fall. Right? Do you see this? Queen bishop battery attacking along the.
Yeah.
But I mean, we can't do justice to this game just by looking at this position. I think we have to see this entire game. It's a very brilliant game. It's a, I mean, it is a masterful game, and we have to see it in detail. So maybe I will look at it and I'll get ready, or you can watch it on that video. Okay. Okay. All right. Let us look at something more. Yeah, this is again a demonstration of space advantage, how to utilize it fully by our great Tarrasch, the guy who almost became a world champion but could not become. So
There's like a circle of pawns.
yep. So black has got a tremendous advantage, and black is really controlling and slowly squeezing. So though white has got a double rook battery, but it is useless because though it is on an open file, but black has got very cleverly put the bishop there, and there is no other entry square. See, the problem is normally on an open file, you are able to get some entry squares, if not the direct end of the file. Somewhere in between, you are able to park your rooks and then able to penetrate further. But here that is very cleverly prevented by black, right? Because black has a bishop also, so white rook cannot come to e5, e6 he cannot come because anyway the rook is protected. On e4 it cannot come because the black pawn is there. E3 it cannot come again because black pawn is there. See, this is the key structure why in fact at this point of time, if there are these three factors, the d5 pawn is covering the d4 pawn is covering the e3 square, the f5 pawn is covering the e4 square, and the black bishop is covering the e5 square. If any one of them was not there, then the structure of the game would have been different, because then the white rook would have been able to penetrate further, come up. So at least on e4 or e5 if it could come up, then it would have been different, but that is not possible. So here black plays c4. What is the idea? If d takes c4, then b takes c4, right? Further pawn is coming up, so knight goes back, and then white brings this. So what is the idea? White wants to play c3 after this. Okay. So white is playing c3 now. And b takes c3. Then d takes c3. See, now further again, it is extremely difficult for black to come out anywhere. See, the b1 knight is stuck there. It cannot go to d2. And if it cannot go to d2, and if the a3 is also stuck with its own pawn, the b1 knight is basically useless, right? Unless white can make something out of it. So the other knight, at least he tries to bring in. And white plays b4. What is the idea? Idea is, if black takes the pawn, then white is very happy, no problem. Okay. So absolutely no problem with the idea, because after that he will push his a3 pawn, a4 pawn to a3, a2, and it will become this one. So knight comes here, so that what white is saying is that, oh, if you take my pawn, then I will take back with my knight, and then my other knight will get freed. That's the whole point. So, but at this point of time, white takes this knight. D takes c4, rook takes c4. Now white gets some breathing space for his rooks, but it is too late. Now white takes this. Black takes this. Knight takes c3. Knight takes c3, and then bishop to b4, and it is over. because the knight is pinned and there is no way to now double protect it. There is no check for the knight. It cannot jump and attack and attack any of the rooks. So there is really nothing. So it has to give up the exchange or more. So this is when Richter resigned against Darash. You can go back and see, but I think black had some very powerful. I mean, black has got all. Is not giving any scope for white to attack, and it has got black has got its own attack plans clearly with his pawns, and he's not allowing any pawn breaks or any breathing space for white. So white is getting suffocated. All right, so there are two more games, full games, which are demonstrative of the space advantage. I suggest that it will take a long time for me to go through in the class. I suggest you go through this, and if you think that we should look at this game, one of these games, maybe I'm open to looking at it on Wednesday night instead of the tournament. Maybe we can look at these games, one of these games. Maybe what I will. I suggest that you look at that Zugzwang game video and come back with your questions or any notes, if any. Also go through these two games, the number 8, number 6 and 7, which is there in this chapter, right? Positions. Go through this, and then maybe we can discuss it on Wednesday. That is what I suggest best, because if I start showing the game now, it will take easily more 20 minutes or more. It will take. Look at it. Yeah, Wednesday, why I'm saying is that I don't want to encroach upon next week's class. So instead, you anyway have the tournament on Wednesdays, right? Instead of that, we can spend